Hey, John Gilroy here. Looks like everyone survived the last federal shutdown, but everyone also knows it won't be the last. Today, let's look at automation and continuous improvement in crises. Hit the music, Manny. Welcome to the Federal Tech Podcast, a podcast that connects you to federal technology leaders. My name is John Gilroy, and I will be your moderator. Our guest in the virtual studio today is Snehal Antani, CEO of Horizon 3. We're talking about autonomous penetration. We're talking about gaps in security. We have 5 hours to discuss this, Antani, don't we?
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Let's just jump into that, I mean, we had a shutdown, and many of my federal agencies, they still had to protect their services from all kinds of different things. And we also know that there's all kinds of attacks taking place. Let's talk about reduced staff, shutdown, increasing attacks. So what are the challenges my govies face, and where do you guys fit in?
So the challenges in government align with actually challenges I faced when I was a CIO in financial services. And I also did do a stint in government also, which is I had no idea I was secure until the bad guys showed up. Are we fixing the right vulnerabilities? Are we logging the right data in Splunk? Is my EDR actually working correctly? And the answer is, I don't know. I wait to get hacked. I hire consultants to show up and test a small slice of my environment every year. But really, for every patch Tuesday, I want a pen test Wednesday. Every time my environment changes, I want to know if I'm exploitable. Because in cybersecurity, the only perspective that matters is the attacker's perspective. And so you want to see yourself through the eyes of the attacker to make sure you're prioritizing and fixing problems that actually matter.
Because you don't know what the problems are. I was talking to a software development company up in Boston, and they said, sometimes the AI introduces vulnerabilities that weren't expected. And so you think you're not being under attack, and you're actually being attacked. And so I guess the answer is continuous, autonomous penetration testing. Is that the answer?
Yeah, I mean, people think about it for yourself. Are you going to brush one tooth once a year? Because that's what pen testing is doing. They're testing a small slice of your environment once a year. Or are you going to brush all your teeth twice a day? Or you want to pen test your environment as often as you can? Because the other important factor here is the goal of running a pen test is not to find problems. The goal of running a pen test is to quickly fix problems that matter. That's the key. It's all about prioritization, and it's all about fixing problems that are known to be abused by threat actors, fixing problems that lead to consequences to the business so you can make sure you're fixing the right issues.
Okay, now the part of the show where we get to brag. And, I'm in this time, been down for decades, and someone gets a FedRAMP high authorization. Time to get a little party, get some champagne out, because everyone knows what a pain in the neck that is. And so you suffered through it, you endured it, and you ran the race, and you wound up at the other end okay, huh?
We did, and I would actually take that a step further. First and foremost, like the spirit of FedRAMP High, the spirit of CMMC is incredibly important, and you want to get the right discipline, culture, and security hygiene in place. We can always bicker or complain or argue about, is it really effective? Is it not effective? Irrelevant. For me, it's, do you have a corporate culture of cybersecurity? Do you care as an organization about security, especially if you're supporting the mission? Because if you're supporting the mission and you get hacked, I mean, when I was in special operations and SolarWinds happened, right? I was the CTO within special operations, and watching the team and I kind of handle that breach. You could compromise a mission network, destroy comms, take down mission command, and jeopardize the ability to mission command a medical evacuation. You've got lives on the line. So if you're supporting the mission, I don't really care about your complaints about these security kind of processes to run through. Like, you're supporting the mission. Just suck it up, get it done, and create that culture of security, which has been our mindset in the company. I mean, we passed CMMC level 1 in 48 hours. Like, we started it.
Another T-shirt.
We got it done, and 48 hours later, we had the stamp. That was CMMC level 1. Level 2 is quite a bit more difficult when we go through that process. But if you have a discipline of cybersecurity, a culture of cybersecurity, and you care deeply about the mission, you'll have already been doing the right things along the way.
If you go to a tech conference in D.C., maybe near the Pentagon, you'll see a lot of people in there. And I know many of them have backgrounds on red teams. and they're kind of proud of it, and I think they should be proud of it. They're kind of a red team at this. So let's compare that old school approach with your approach. And so, how can you help agencies identify and then remediate? That's the big word. And then remediate problems faster than traditional, smart and aggressive and experienced red teamers.
So a broader question is, what is the role of AI and what is the role of humans in pen testing? Or more broadly, offensive cyber operations, right? Let's look at it from that lens for a moment. Humans are uniquely gifted at finding logic flaws in custom code. It's really hard for algorithms to solve that problem. It is really easy for an expert human to go off and do that. And so the role of the human going forward, I think, is all about finding logic flaws in custom code. Humans are also able to find ways to compromise and exploit that long tail of OT and industrial control systems type environments. Because once again, you're really digging through source code analysis, you're accessing systems that aren't readily available for algorithms to bang against and so on. But the rest of that area, the network infrastructure, your cloud infrastructure, app to internal pivoting, those aspects of the attack surface are actually best solved by algorithms because those are actually graph analytics problems. Every host, port, service, credential, defensive tool in place, you're going to represent all of that in a graph, nodes and edges of connectivity and relationship. And you're going to be doing a variety of graph analytics to figure out how do I compromise credentials from one place, combine different things together to steal data or to become domain admin to compromise your network. Attackers think in graphs. AI thinks in graphs. And so for network infrastructure pen testing, cloud infrastructure pen testing, especially in really large environments, AI will always be superior to humans. AI will really struggle with finding logic flaws in custom code. And so it's all about human machine teaming and using the right type of thing for the task, humans for custom code analysis and AI for infrastructure testing at scale.
Well, you hit the phrase that pays, the word teaming. If I look at my last 100 episodes, the word teaming or maybe public-private partnerships come up, and partnering with the federal government to 2 + 2 is 5, one of those kind of deals. I have went to your website and I saw some press releases. You guys have worked with the NSA on a collaboration center, and which your focus was continuous autonomous penetration testing, just what we're talking about here. So what impact did it have, and did you both learn something?
Yeah, so the Cyber Collaboration Center at the NSA is, I mean, I've spent time working with government and in government for quite a while now, is probably one of the most impactful and effective organizations within the national security apparatus for public-private partnership. I've always been impressed with them, but in particular in this particular project we worked on together, or program we're now a part of. And the issue to go solve is for defense industrial-based suppliers, especially the small and medium-sized suppliers that don't necessarily have the expertise to defend themselves. They play a key role in building munitions. They play a key role in handling sensitive CAD files for aircraft carriers and nuclear submarines. They play a key role in mission support. So their networks might be federated with mission networks and so on. A hacker doesn't have to go against the Pentagon directly. They can go after these small and medium-sized suppliers, compromise them because it's easier, and then swim into the mission network. And so what we're all worried about from a national security standpoint is that long tail of suppliers that are absolutely critical to the mission. And so the NSA Cyber Collaboration Center went through and did a bunch of analysis to find 200 suppliers that they were worried about. And so year one of this program, which is a few years ago now, they said, here are 200 suppliers we're worried about, and form fills for vendor risk management just don't work. You're checking a box saying, I'm secure. That doesn't mean anything. You've got to prove it. Like, don't tell me you're secure, show me, and then show me again tomorrow and show me again next week. So with the NSA Cyber Collaboration Center and the CAPT program, Continuous Autonomous Pen Testing Program, the NSA was able to use our license and make it available to the long tail of suppliers. And those suppliers started hacking themselves very often. And because we clearly articulate the consequence of that vulnerability being exploited, we're able to prove to a design firm in Virginia that in less than 5 minutes, our AI hacker gained access to the sensitive 3D CAD drawings for Nimitz-class aircraft carriers and Virginia-class submarines in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And the design firm, what's important is their reaction, which was, oh my God, now that I understand the consequence of these security issues, let's get after it as fast as possible because they don't want to add risk to the mission. They care about the mission too. So by using us to help identify the consequences, we saw the DIB quickly mobilize and care more deeply about security because the issues were surfaced not as a compliance penalty, but the issues were surfaced as consequence to the mission. We've now scaled that program up from 200 suppliers to 1,000 suppliers to 2,000 suppliers. And we see this dramatic change in behavior in how that long tail of suppliers start to care deeply about their security posture because of our results.
And there are people that know the DIB, and some people estimate 300,000 companies. And it's just a guess. They don't know 60, 70 is a good guess, but let's say it's a low end. Let's say it's 60,000 companies. Well, you identified 200 accidentally. Maybe, I mean, this is a significant. Maybe they have to be just be taught a lesson or something. Maybe that's what's it. I mean, it's like your back door is open. Oh, I don't care. And then some big guy comes in at night. Then you care.
Yeah.
And so that's what's going on. But think about that: 50,000 at the low end, and 200 with the priority ones. There must be a whole lot more that are weak.
Yeah, and that's part of the challenge now: is how do we operationalize and scale this up in a way that is both impactful to the mission and fair to the taxpayer? Because on the one hand, like the taxpayer shouldn't be responsible for subsidizing someone's security indefinitely. And so is there a catalyst or bootstrap program? Those are some of the things that Pentagon leadership is thinking through. Like, is this hey, you're critical and we're going to bootstrap you because we can't accept risk to the mission. But if you don't get to a certain point by some deadline, you're out. You're not going to be a vendor to the government anymore. I think something to that effect is going to drive the right balance of reducing risk to the mission while minimizing the burden on the taxpayer for security posture of the DIB.
Speaking of security posture and zero trust, can you help a federal agency make leaps and bounds progress in achieving that noble but vainglorious goal?
Yeah, part of the challenge with zero trust is there are so many moving parts. If you miss one checkbox in one network segmentation tool, your entire zero trust posture is out the door. And so you can't trust your security tools are working. You can't trust your segmentation rules are working. You've got to verify that they're working by using the attacker's perspective. So our customers in that zero trust journey up front, think about it as day one of that zero trust project, they have an open and flat network. So when they run us as an assumed breach pen test, we're going to get network reachability to everything. And then they're going to say, okay, well, now that we understand the consequence of a flat open network and how much data we could gain access to or domain compromise we could get to or whatever, now let's figure out the right ways to segment the network to reduce blast radius. Let's figure out the right ways to carve out credential roles to reduce blast radius. At the end of the day, zero trust is partially about blast radius management and assuming the attacker is going to gain a foothold somewhere and reducing the damage the attacker can do from that foothold. And the best way to prove that you understand that damage is by running assumed breach pen tests from each of those footholds that you're worried about. What if they get access to the DMZ? What damage can they do? What if they gained access to my J1 network or my G1 network? What damage could they do? What if they gained access to the tactical mission network? What damage could they do? And once you understand the blast radius, you understand the risk to mission, risk to force, and you can do something about it.
I live and work inside the Beltway in Washington, D.C. We tend to get tunnel vision here. So 2 weeks ago, I went up to Boston and got a couple of companies from MIT, startups, and we talked about their view on cybersecurity and federal government and software development. It's really it's a better perspective, I think. You tend to get tunnel vision here pretty easily. And I think Americans get tunnel vision when it comes to AI because they say, hey, we got it all. We're the best. And well, guess what? The adversaries are using AI as well. So my question to you is, how do you play this whack-a-mole game? How do you counter an AI threat when you know they're using it as aggressively as you are?
I think so. There's two dimensions to this problem. The first dimension is AI generally and what's happening in that market. And then the second is the use of AI in cyber warfare. So let's think about the first one first, just because it's a lot more contentious and maybe more provocative for the audience. There is definitely an AI fear-mongering lobby here in the United States. We see Dario at Anthropic all the time on the news talking about the threat of AI and the risk of AI and AI safety and so on and so forth. And we see a whole lot of people. In fact, David Sachs is on the other side of this, which is, there's a belief that there's an entire influence warfare strategy by our adversaries to make Americans paranoid of the benefit of what AI can bring to the table. Meanwhile, they're embracing and adopting it at full extreme in every way possible. So I think there's an AI fear-mongering lobby that we need to understand and discount appropriately. There are always things in there to be conscious of, but that's kind of one part of it. The second part of it is we in the United States tend to be much more commercial, closed source AI with the frontier labs and frontier models, Anthropic, OpenAI, Grok, and so on. And in Google, those are closed source frontier models. Whereas in China, it's been much more about open source models with DeepSeek and so on. In fact, there's an article that 80% of the startups pitching Andreessen Horowitz right now are using Chinese open source AI models because, one, they're easier to gain access to, they're much cheaper to execute, but we don't know what's in there. We don't know what backdoors, we don't know what training data poisoning's been put in place. This is the long game we've got to go off and think about. So the other part of the AI ecosystem is closed source models versus open source models, and the integrity of those open source models and understanding how those models were trained and built and the effect that's going to have as these foreign built open source models get deeply integrated into a variety of workflows and services and capabilities used by American national security, American critical infrastructure, and American business. So I'll pause there and talk about AI for cyber warfare, but I think we have an absolutely fundamental problem. This is one reason why I'm so excited to see David Sachs in the AI czar seat, given his background here. I mean, yeah, he's an investor in Horizon 3, but that's actually not. David's a person I've admired for years. And if you look at the thoughtfulness around what he is doing in the White House to think about open source AI models, energy infrastructure, closed source models, fear mongering, state regulatory, government, and federal regulatory, I think he's got the right eye. And now the question is, how do we make sure as a nation we mobilize in the right way?
And if you want more information about what David's doing downtown, just listen to the All In podcast. I mean, he is an outsider inside the Beltway now, and he's bringing all that high-powered brain work inside. And he has some just, I don't know where he gets his brains from. He cuts through problems like a knife. He just goes zoom right to the heart. Next. Yeah. And so he's fascinating. So if you're interested in ethical questions or energy-related questions, listen to David Sachs. And if you want information on autonomous penetration testing, go to Horizon 3 and see what they're up to. It's a brave new world. And I listen to some of the things that David Sachs says, and it's jaw-dropping, isn't it? It says, what? Energy requirements? Where's the chart? There's no chart. It's straight up, huh?
What's amazing is what AI is surfacing is fundamentally bad decisions made policy-wise in the United States over the last 30 years that are catching up with us now. So I'll end with a very simple one. So I'm also a Purdue alumni, and I get the privilege of going back to Purdue often. And the proposed NIST director, a guy named Arvind Raman, who's the dean of engineering at Purdue, and I had a chance to talk to him over the weekend, a couple of weekends ago. And he talked about mines to magnets. And we don't think about magnets. We don't think about rare earth elements in mines in our day-to-day lives. But apparently in the 90s, there were 3 magnet manufacturing companies in the United States, all in Indiana, all gutted and shipped offshore to China. And so the entire process of building these magnets is lost, the entire process. And magnets are crucial for motors, AI infrastructure, cooling. There's a whole bunch of areas where magnets are critical. And we've lost how to do that. So AI surfaced the importance and thinking about this entire value chain from mines to magnets, regional power production, all of these other areas that have just been lost over the last 30 years. And suddenly we're in a place to have a true American renaissance and revolution. using AI as the catalyst, as an overarching umbrella, but under the covers, mines to magnets being a big area to go off and invest in, said rethinking the energy strategy for the United States. It's a great opportunity to really think about what this country is going to look like in 2050.
I think it's going to be exciting for you to sit in a classroom at Purdue and talk about what's going to happen in the next 5 years, because you and the kids in the classroom are equals, buddy. I mean, you're all going to have a say, and who knows? It's just a great time to be alive, and you think the positioning now, you like that this wave starting. It's really exciting.
Yeah, in fact, I just took on an affiliate associate professor of computer science at Purdue. And one of the things I'm so excited for is if you think about a student today, or if my son's 10, in 8 years when he starts undergrad, wherever he goes, what is it that he needs to be? And I think in the world of AI, you've got to become a full stack problem solver. You have to have a significant expertise in one area. So suddenly your master's and PhD is much more important now than it was when I graduated in the early 2000s. You've got to have a deep subject matter expertise, but you've got to be a full stack problem solver. And I think that skill set is very unique to the American education system, and that entrepreneurial spirit that is very unique to this country that the Chinese and others simply don't have in place in the way that we do here. And so I think we have a unique advantage, and it's ours to screw up. But I think that full stack problem solver, entrepreneurial spirit is key. And as long as we can get over some of the political divide of penalizing entrepreneurs and berating entrepreneurs and putting them down, and instead we should be putting them on pedestals, because that mindset is what's going to make the difference between a 3 to 5% GDP growth country compounded over the next 10, 20 years versus a 1 to 2% GDP growth country. Then once again, it's ours to screw up.
And I've seen that graph, so that can be graphed, and it's not good. We're running out of time, unfortunately. You have been listening to the Federal Tech Podcast with John Gilroy. I'd like to thank my guest, Snehal Antani, CEO of Horizon 3. Thank you, Snehal.
Thank you so much.